smarts and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
The power of a cash grab compels you. The power of a cash grab compels you. The power of a cash grab compels you. The power of a cash grab compels you! Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I am here with a brand new epic movie rant. And this epic movie rant is going to be for a film that I had, new release film that I had saw around the first week of its release, because I was kind of forced to go out one night. And I decided this gives me the perfect time to give a rant about this. Because I knew this film was going to suck and be horrible from the moment I saw its trailers before Oppenheimer. Literally. Boy, and it was for another legacy sequel to come out in October, literally from the now hated person of horror, David Gordon Green, who's now very controversial with horror franchise fans, and one of the biggest ruiners of horror, Jason Blum. So it's another one of their collaborations. And get this, guys, this was a revival for a demonic franchise that they spent $400 million fucking dollars on. $400 million. Of this shit. Anyways, this film is going to be for what I like to call the Exorcist, the fan service crapper, or the Exorcist Believer, which is also an equally shitty title. Let's get on with this rant. Well, it's about this single chicken shit father who has his daughter and her friend who end up getting possessed by a demon. And that unleashes a chain of events that forces him to confront the nature of evil. He's terrified and desperate, and he seeks out Chris McNeil, Regan's mom from the first film, as she's the only one who's witnessed anything like it before. And how was this made? Well, it was around August 2020, during the lockdowns and the pandemic. Morgan Creek Entertainment decided to produce a new installment in the Exorcist franchise, because franchises were coming back now. A tentative theatrical release window for 2021 was planned by the studio, but of course it got noted that the studio had stated it would never attempt to remake The Exorcist, but it would obtain the blessings of titles and the original creators before they moved forward with new entries. And then in December 2020, the project was clarified to be in development and would be a sequel to the original film, and David Gordon Green was going to be in negotiations to serve as director. Jason Blum, David Robinson, and James Robinson would serve as producers. Then in July 2021, a trilogy of sequels were concurrently in development, with Green hired to direct the first of the new installments, and a script he co-wrote with Peter Seiler. An original story co-wrote with Scott Teems and Danny McBride. Green McBride, Couple Samuelson, and Stephanie Allain served as the executive producers. And when he acquired the series rights to Morgan Creek Entertainment, the writing team and Jason Blum spent early 2020 devising the story over Zoom. And then the projects were joint venture productions between Blumhouse Productions and Morgan Creek Entertainment, with Universal Pictures distributing instead of Warner Brothers. And they collaborated with Peacock to purchase rights for $400 million, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video. And parts 2 and 3 of the trilogy were going to be potential Peacock exclusive films. They were optioned as that. And by October 2021, when Halloween Kills released, Green expressed his intentions to direct all 3 films, and script outlines completed for the latter 2 films that he co-wrote with Sadler. So anyway, they completed the movie, And after they made us watch the trailer for this garbage, before we even could watch Oppenheimer in the theaters, which was a good movie, unlike this, which was actually great. It was going to be originally released on October 13th, 2023, but that crappy looking Taylor Swift concert movie that everybody is all obsessing and gushing over, that all the fanboys are all gushing creepily over, took the Friday the 13th release. Yeah, we get that shit for a Friday the 13th film release. They bumped this up a week early to October 6, 2023, even though it had no chance of being good, because they seemed so scared it would flop, which it deserved. Because guess what, guys? Upon release, it predictably got negative reviews from critics because they said it lacked any good ideas and scares. And has literally only grossed $112 million worldwide. There's supposed to be a sequel called Exorcist Deceiver, and it's going to be released on April 18, 2025, but it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter because it's probably not going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does, considering this is from Blumhouse, where they're always so low budget. They're just low budget. I swear to God, it's like Blumhouse is so low budget on purpose. It's so they can give whatever shitty horror film they make a sequel. Okay? Guys, as for my reaction, I only went to see this to give it a rant for my channel. For your guys' benefits. And it was, what was it? Yeah, it predictably sucked donkey dick. When I saw a trailer for this before Oppenheimer, I knew it would be bad. It literally looked so bad, and people were scared of this fucking trailer. Why? What was so scary in that fucking trailer that was so scary? Name something. Whoever thought the trailer was scary, and they think I'm a fool for not liking the trailer, tell me what I missed. Tell me. I'll be waiting while I do a rant on this. It was literally the movie predictably. It was not even scary. There wasn't even a single jump moment in the film. Not one thing was scary about this. Nothing was scary in this movie at all. Nothing was even scary one bit. Whenever they try to have one scare, it's pathetically done. And this film, and considering that William Friedkin died this year earlier, around the summertime, around the summertime he passed away, this movie literally feels disrespectful to William Friedkin's legacy. William Friedkin's probably rolling in his grave right now with this movie's results. Well, then again, he didn't even want to direct any sequels to The Exorcist. When it comes to the whole Exorcist movies, the first one, it's good, but not a masterpiece like people seem to really make it that film out to be. I don't think it's one of the scariest things ever made. I've seen better films than The Exorcist. Way better films. But it's enjoyably good. The protagonist, our kid in that movie, Regan, got possessed, but that's a kid you like. You don't like the kid in this movie, the daughter in this movie, you don't even care about her one bit. Hardly. Because you're going to get to why. But Regan was actually a likable character. Her mom, Chris, was a likable character. And you liked both of them. Chris, you believed this. You really seemed like you were terrified for Chris wanting to get her daughter back. And you also wanted Regan to get unpossessed. And you really wanted Regan to survive. And you wanted the priest in the first one to win. Okay, the priests were great characters. And they heroically sacrificed. One of them heroically sacrificed himself to get Regan freed. Right there. And it still had a decent enough ending. But apparently, because it made such an impact, Warner Bros. Decided to make this one of the first films to get a confirmed sequel. And then we had Exorcist II: The Heretic. And it was so atrociously bad, and apparently somehow they got James Earl Jones to make a brief appearance in it. Which was probably the only redeeming thing of that movie, but it's still a shitty movie regardless. The fact that it's made by someone who clearly has no association with the original or doesn't like the original movie, this movie clearly shows all of that. But then, of course, in 1990, you had The Exorcist 3, and that to me is the best one of the series. Okay? People think the first two is better. I think Exorcist 3 is the best one. It's the best of all the Exorcist movies. and one of the most underrated horror films you'll ever find. Exorcist 3 rules. And then you get to the prequels. There's 2 prequels, but they're the same version of the same story. 2004, you had the theatrically released Exorcist The Beginning, which did not do well with critics, and bombed. Upon release in 2004, then the director got to release his director's cut called Dominion, which is the same movie except his version. It didn't matter because even the version Dominion was still garbage either way. It still got bad reviews, even if they were decently better. So even if, regardless whatever version was released, it was a doom movie either way. So yeah, the only good Exorcist stuff was Exorcist 1, Exorcist 3. Those are the only ones that should have happened. Exorcist 3 is the only Exorcist sequel that is canon. Now it brings us to David Gordon Green reviving another franchise called This, Believer. Why we have a shitty title like Believer of all things? The sequel's supposed to be called Deceiver. Why don't you just call that movie Deceive? This movie should be called Deceiver because it deceives you into thinking it's going to be scary, which it clearly was not. And it's not even scary. It's just fucking boring. Nothing even happens in this damn film. Director and writer David Gordon Green tries to craft another requel, and it's a reimagined sequel to an iconic horror film that just ignores everything after the original movie again, because Halloween 2018 started this trend. This idea works to a certain extent with Halloween, but here, Chris's return in this movie, it's laughably bad because she does fucking nothing, as in one scene. She has no bearing on the possessions that are transpiring. She has gone away and provides no help. Because David Gordon Green and Jason Blum, they learned nothing from when they did Halloween Ends last year. Yeah, Halloween Ends was a great hit. That totally worked. That was beautiful. Everyone loved Halloween Ends, so we're going to repeat the same shit with Exorcist Believer because people loved Ends so much, even though they didn't. The idea of having 2 girls being connected in a possession could have been interesting, but the film fails to deliver any sympathy for any of these characters. One family is more prominent than the other, so it left me just wondering what was even the point of having 2 possessions. And on top of that, the girls just appear more abnormal than possessed for a majority of the runtime, and when they're literally possessed, it's just a cheap imitation of what has literally been done, and not just the original, but the genre as well. And the possessed children spoke creepily, puked a few times, and they even liviate, but the context of it is just far from fear-inducing. Now, the only things that are decent and the saving graces of it, the first half of this, the performances by actors like Leslie Odom Jr., his character's a chicken shit, but he did fine for what he was given. I'll give him that. He delivers some stoicism and unspoken desperation in the first half. Then he got Ledaya and Olivia Marcium, who play the demon-afflicted Angela and her friend Catherine, the 2 girls in this movie that get possessed. They're fine for what they were given, but I don't like their characters. And because these actors can only do so much with the script they're given, which is not much to go on. And the most glaring issue is literally haunting the cinematic endeavor of its inability to construct a cohesive and engaging narrative instead of a well-crafted and suspenseful storyline. The film comes across as a series of isolated scenes, each one disconnected from the last, and the disjointed approach leaves the audience feeling detached from the story and yearning for a more tightly woven plot that would naturally bind these disparate elements together, and the lack of a cohesive thread is particularly disappointing, given the original's masterful storytelling. Yeah, what happened to that in this? Oh, right, because this one's the nostalgia. I forgot about that. And it's a jarring and puzzling inclusion in this film was the character of Chris McNeil. Chris McNeil's back, and I mentioned her return is pathetic. Because her character attempts to perform an exorcism, which we'll get to more details on later. And while Burstyn is undoubtedly a gifted actress, her... in many other films I've seen, I liked her in Requiem for a Dream, liked her in the first Exorcist movie. She returns that same role from the first movie in this, and it means nothing. Her portrayal doesn't even mesh with the demands of an Exorcist role. The gravitas, intensity, and authenticity essentially for such a central character are absent in her performance. What's more, the subplots surrounding her exorcism attempts feel forced. It's as if it were forcibly integrated into the narrative without consideration for how it naturally fits. Whereas the original Exorcism film was defined by its ability to deliver bone-chilling horror, Believer literally struggles to evoke the same terror. The eerie atmosphere, the suspense, the hard-pie moments that characterized the 1973 classic are conspicuously lacking in this sequel. The absence of these elements just leaves the audience wanting, unable to fully engage with the story, have experienced the sheer horror that once made The Exorcist this defining masterpiece in the 70s. Because, the reason why Exorcist was praised so much when it came out is because it was just not... Stuff like that in The Exorcist was not done before. Most of the time you just had most of the black and white horror films, or the classical movie monsters, in the 60s and 50s. Then 70s, The Exorcist came out, and people were so shocked and disturbed by it because it was nothing they had seen before, and they thought it was very real. That's what caused it all the controversy. That's why it worked. It felt fresh. The allure of Legan's decline to demonic possession in the first film lies in the slow creeping realization that something's lurking and waiting, revealing in your despair. The demonic possession is not even a central theme at all. Instead, it's this priest battle of faith in a world that is losing it. And Believer just misses capturing the essence of what made the original terrifying to most people. All we get is just relying on fan service, give the film some air of intelligence, and strategy would have worked if Burson's role is considered with depth and integrity. Instead, her whole 10 minutes of screen time is just a fickle standoff between a demon and a 50-year grudge that serves the quick splash of stage blood. And Gory's direction of a core character in a shallow way simply forces the idea that his background of stoner comedy candy slashers is where he should have went back towards. Like with this sequel to the classic film, Gordon Green, because this guy likes to do franchises nowadays instead of just comedies, which he's better suited for. The rest of the writer and production crew, they just don't seem to have a clear idea. You can trust in what they did with their first Halloween sequel, because they seemed insecure with their first film. The film quickly comes across as unclear because of the lack of details of further explanation. They simply try to imitate many things from the original film in slightly varied, but still very copied ways. Like how exactly the two girls became possessed, what happened to them when they disappeared. It's not even explained at all in this film. Now, the two possessed girls, you can only get the backstory of one of the two, how she grew up alone with her father because their mom dies in the beginning of the film, and you don't get enough information about the second girl and her family to really care about either of them, and the missing information just emerges in another film. Gordon Green and production crew had the same idea, like they did with the first Halloween. Make this a cash grab trilogy. Because it works so well. Gordon Green, I thought you would have learned your fucking lesson to not touch another horror franchise again after how Halloween Ends turned out. Apparently you didn't learn shit. At all. Because you all had to go spend $400 million fucking dollars to revive The Exorcist. And look how it's turning out for you. Bad reviews, barely any good money. Like Halloween 20, not the money Halloween 2018 made, only $112 million. That's all it's made so far in a month. A month. People are done with these stupid fan service revivals. Have you ever thought of that? And you're going to say the strike, but the strike is making it bomb. No, it's not. It's not the strike. I'm sick and tired of people blaming the strike for every movie bombing this year. Ever think maybe most of these movies bombed because either nobody cared for them or nobody wanted to waste more money on stupid fan service nostalgia sequels? Ever thought about that? Ever thought that people are tired of this shit and want something actually good for a change? Maybe Saw X didn't make over hundreds of millions of dollars, but look how it's turning. But it's made it's clearly made decently better enough than Exorcist Believer. 5 Minutes of Phrase made $80 million in its opening weekend, despite being both a theater and streaming release, and it couldn't even get any promotion from actors like Josh Hutcherson because of the strike. Even though, regardless of the promotion, Five Nights at Freddy's made so much money its opening weekend this weekend. It's clearly not the strike. Okay? Stop blaming the strike for your shitty movies bombing. I bet even with the strike they would have bombed anyway. So it wouldn't matter. So anyway, the film tries to come across as just more of a modern film compared to the 50-year-old original film. These 50 years, how people view religion and things like exorcism change and adopt it. Various people literally try to apply their own way to faith and rituals to save the girls from the dark force that's possessed them. The characters do this at the same time. It makes it more difficult to follow the film properly after all these messy and unclear aspects. The final film just no longer really comes across as scary or exciting like it ever would have been. It's just more long-winded. Because then again, this film is like 2 fucking hours long. Yeah, like even the first one was 2 hours fucking long, but it's something you actually enjoyed watching. This sequel, if it should be called a sequel, has nothing to do with the 1973 film besides just trying to show a nonsensical connection to it and bring back Ellen Burstyn's character. That's the only connection this movie has. The story's just thin that I stopped even further caring more like after half of the movie passed, because there's just too many plot holes. And when I saw this movie in the theaters, guys, guess how many people were there? Just me and 2 people, all the way at the very back of the movie. Very back of the theater. The very back rows. Yes. It was dead-ass empty. Like, nobody was there. And it was its first week, too, and it was a nighttime showing. Nobody was there. Nobody. That's a sign you've really failed. How does this whole entire movie even go? Like, honestly, I know this is going to be a bit of a spoiler review as well. I should have given that a little bit of heads up, but the movie's been out for a month now, so I don't think it even matters, but it's just going to be us, because sometimes I have a very bad memory of stuff. If I wait a little too long to review it, I'm just going to give what I easily remember, a whole spoiler, what happens most of the film here. And I'll try to explain it here. Literally, so our first shot of this movie, how the movie starts, there was this shot of a laughable dogfight in the trailer. That's our first shot of the whole fucking movie. Yeah, that's how we open this already boring-ass movie. And then the rest of the film opens up in a place called Port-au-Prince, where a photographer takes pictures while on vacation with his pregnant wife. The pregnant wife then meets with a voodoo priestess, performs a ritual to give blessings to her child, her unborn child, and then the city has an earthquake. And Serene tries to escape her building, the pregnant wife's name, but she gets wounded under falling debris before the husband finds her. And before she loses consciousness, she asks the husband to protect their child. And at the hospital, the husband is told by the doctors that attempts to save Serene may possibly kill the baby, and he's forced to choose who to save. And, it's already obvious. You can already tell this guy's going to choose his daughter. It's so obvious. So yeah, he saves his daughter, the wife dies. And then it cuts to years later, where the husband, the chicken shit guy, he's living in Georgia now, with his now teenage daughter. And he keeps photographs of her mother. He's lost faith in God as a result of losing his wife. And then when his daughter's going to school, her dad literally chastises her for wearing a scarf that was his wife's. Literally. In their first scene, he's getting mad at his own daughter because he's wearing her dead mom's scarf. Like, it's a fucking scarf, dude. Deal with it. Then the daughter goes to school, meets up with her friend, the other possessed girl student. During class, they make plans with this other classmate to go out in the woods after school, but instead it just ends up being the first friend and the daughter, and you can tell they're gonna get fucking possessed as soon as they get in the woods, because what we see them doing, it looks like they're doing some satanic shit in the woods. So is it a shock that they're going to get possessed? Is it really that much of a shock? And then we see the husband at his the single husband now at his job, where he's taking photographs for this family where the son's being a brat and not smiling, and the parents are starting to get really rude, starting to get a little bit strict on him. And then after that, he begins to see weird images like the child crying and the family's pictures appearing distorted on his laptop. And then the dad calls the friend's parents' home after his daughter had told him that she was going to study there, but of course, because they went in the woods and did satanic shit and got themselves possessed, that friend's mom says the girls are literally going to the other friend's student's house. And then they contact that student's mom and find out the two girls were going to go into the woods. So the three parents all team up. They venture out into the woods and they come across the area where they find the girls' backpacks, and the first dad finds this daughter's shoes in the water. And the parents contact the authorities and begin to searching for the girls. The dad then calls the friends home after the... Oh, wait, yeah. And then during the time there, during their search, that dad is visited by concerned neighbors who try to offer help, but he stupidly rejects all of them, which he probably shouldn't because it could probably be warning him of something. So he ignores them. It's like, no, I'm not listening to that. No, get away from my house. You don't know that. They're trying to tell you something's clearly up, and you're just going to ignore them? Wow, you're an idiot. Then when visiting a shelter, another man makes a crass comment towards the dad regarding his daughter's whereabouts, and then he flips the table and starts to fight in the whole shelter over it. Then suddenly we cut to a farm. We get to a barn cellar where this young man and his father find the two girls hiding in their barn cellar, and the girls end up going to the hospital. They're reunited with their families, but we see their feet red, they're all blistered, their skin is all scratched up, and their behavior is disoriented, and it's clear they're already possessed. But the chicken shit dad brings his daughter home, but the daughter tells him that she and this girl play this game in the woods where they try to contact strange spirit, which is the satanic shit I mentioned, and lets them fall into the hole of getting lost, but it's obvious they got possessed because they were so stupid. And then the daughter starts exhibiting strange behavior, like talking to this unseen entity and messing with lights. But then of course her dad tries to give her a bath. But when he does, the water, guess what? It turns black, like the black water. And the daughter pretty much rips off a toenail. The dad goes looking for her, and the daughter literally tries to wrap his dead wife's scarf around his face. And when this scene happened, it tries to make this scene a jump scare. But it's just one of the funniest attempts at a jump scare yet. Like, seriously, is that supposed to be considered scary? And so this decides, okay, you're going back to the hospital. It's when he tried to make her breakfast. And then tries to serve it to her in bed. That whole scene happens. And he pretty much has to take his daughter back to the hospital. And then after that comes the annoying, the body and the blood, the body and the blood, the body and the blood. We get to this part now. We get to a church. We find the other possessed girl is now with her family and her younger siblings at this Baptist church. And the pastor gives thanks to God for returning that other kid to them. But the daughter looks all haggard and worn out, and you think maybe she shouldn't be in a church? And maybe she should probably be at home recovering, not bringing her ass to church? If she looks like that. But then that girl walks out, then returns with the congregation, does their communion, while she's all covered in blood, and then she yells out that stupid, the body and the blood, 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 and her parents comes to her, and she has to be berated at home, and she keeps yelling out, body and the blood, body and the blood, body and the blood. Oh, God, I get it. Will you shut the fuck up about the body and the blood? I don't give a fuck. She keeps yelling that shit out like 900 fucking times. I don't want to hear more of the body and the blood shit. I fucking get it. And then we meet a nurse who gives the first possessed girl's dad a book and this is where Chris enters the picture. The book is literally from Chris McNeil. And she documented her experience from the events of the first Exorcist movie when her daughter got possessed. He reads her book and watches interviews of Chris and then goes and personally goes out to her house. He finds her in her house and she's now living alone because apparently we find out that Regan cut off contact with her after she wrote her book, and that book got her mom so famous that she didn't want to have to deal with all the press media about what happened to her, and she went into hiding. Victor, then of course, Victor, the dad's name, explains the situation to Chris. Because she spent the last few decades of her life studying other religion methods of exorcism, and so she pretty much became a hermit in her house, writing books all her whole life, and studying exorcisms. And this guy's right here, this is Ellen Burstyn's only scene in the movie. They're only seen in the damn movie because her character literally plays no role in this film. You could cut her out of this movie and it's gonna mean nothing. And we find out here after Chris's book was and we find out because Chris's book is successful, like I already mentioned, Regan cut ties with Chris. And she fled the whole world. So, basically, the first movie, the mom hired those two priests to save your ass. And you just leave your mom like that because she wrote a fucking book? And again, maybe Chris shouldn't have wrote the fucking book in the first place. Thinking that this shit was going to be a consequence, and it was going to make Regan more known to the world. Either one of them think about that? No. Because nowadays, in every fan service nostalgia sequel, we gotta fuck over legacy characters. But then after that, the first girl's dad brings Chris to the hospital to see his daughter, and Chris believes it's that same demon from the first movie, Pazuzu, the one who possessed Regan in the first movie, especially because the possessed Angela tells Chris that Regan is waiting for her in hell. And then those two end up going to the other possessed girl's home. Then Chris meets that girl and hears the same talkings about Regan. And when she gets too close and attempting to expel the demon from Catherine's body, guess what, guys? Because she foolishly gets close, Catherine, all possessed, the other girl's name, grabs a cross and stabs out Chris's eyes. And she's now blind. She gets rushed to the hospital. The first girl's dad apologizes for what happened to her, but Chris doesn't appear to regret trying to help, and she says, "It's not your fault what happened to me." Yeah, it fucking is! You're now blind, you lost your eyesight, you're now blind because of this asshole, because of this stupid asshole. And now, she now literally looks like the Cyclops from X-Men. So yeah, if this is her only scene, why even bring back Ellen Burstyn in the first place? Oh yeah, right. The nostalgia beaten. Probably now for the rest of this trilogy, he's going to be brought back to write more fucking books on exorcisms, go to a hospital, become a blind hermit with psychic powers. And then that same nurse we met earlier speaks to a friend of hers, and then tries to get approval from the Catholic Church on performing an exorcism for the two girls to save them. Then the other possessed girl's parents turn to their own friend and pastor. Then, of course, the first girl's dad visits his wife's grave, the wife from the beginning of the movie, finds the hoodoo practitioner, and enlists her help as well. And then, of course, we also end up joining them. It's this Pentecostal teacher, and then we just find out the church should not approve the exorcism because of the possibility of someone getting killed. So they're basically willing to let these two girls die. That's nice. Over that. But the three parents now gather the group. They bring the two possessed girls together in the same house, bind them to chairs that get nailed to the floor while drawing a ring around them, and they begin to attempt a ritual to exorcise the girls themselves. And during the ritual, the demon, it's not Pazuzu. It's not Pazuzu. It's a demon named Lamashtu. Speaks through the first girl, revealing that her dad originally chose to save the wife instead of the daughter, and the daughter's real voice comes out to yell at her dad for that decision. Then Lamashtu states that one girl will live and the other will die, and the parents have to choose which one gets to survive and which one does not. One of the priests returns after he was like, screw it, I don't want to be a part of this. He basically said, screw that to the church, and he starts to perform his own exorcism. And of course, predictably, this shit doesn't work. This shit doesn't matter. And the demon makes the girl's head spin. And it causes Mendux's own head to twist 180 degrees before he collapses on the floor dead. So yeah, the exorcism scene literally just tries to copy elements from the original movie, which feels forced and unnecessary. It's just a big eye roll here. It's not even scary one bit. It's pathetically done. And when the acting even falls apart too. And the writing is to literally blame for it. And the worst part was, bringing all these religions together, but none of them really interact with each other. They do their own thing. We thought we were going to get a little bit of power would set us free moment, and it would have made sense to bring them all together here if they did that. But it's just a poorly written scene. It's not even overacted, but it's also boring. During a lot of times I was on my phone during the whole exorcism scene. Because it was just pointless and ridiculous, unlike how they did it in the original movie. Or how they did any of those scenes in the third movie. Then, of course, the dad begins trying to reach out to his daughter, the first dad anyways, and reach out to the first daughter, his daughter. He apologizes for what he did, and he uses his wife's scarf, his dead wife's scarf that he's so obsessed over, the one he punished her for wearing, or yelled at her for wearing, the one he's too obsessed over, because we gotta be obsessed over a stupid scarf. But then the other dad, the second girl's dad, blurts out that he wants his own daughter to be saved. And then the first girl's body floats upward into the air to the ceiling. And she ridicules to this bile into the ceiling before collapsing. Her heart rate flatlines. And you get another shot of Chris using her little psychic powers like this. Or no, like this. She's using her powers like that. Just he's now doing exorcisms. Then the first dad holds his daughter and weeps, thinking she's died. And then the second daughter appears alive for a second. But then her head goes limp. And then her spirit appears in the same place where the girls ended up in the woods. And then the Lamashtu demon, the Pazuzu imposter, drags Catherine's spirit to hell because the chosen one is the one chosen to die. So it's just pointless if one of them's going to die anyway. So the first daughter wakes up, and the other parents are left weeping over Catherine's body. So pretty much the first dad chose his daughter to be saved. So in a way, you could say that other daughter is dead because of this fucking lead guy. This lead guy, the biggest chicken shit of this movie, he gives a fine performance, the actor gives a fine performance, but his character is a chicken shit most of the film. He got Chris blinded for life. The whole film had a complete lack of storyline. There's no good explanation as to what happened when the girls went missing and caused after all this. The first kind of its double possession. And of course, because the writers decide to have one of the girls die instead of both of them being saved. If this just makes Gordon Green more of an idiot, that other daughter is fucking dead. And is going to be burning in hell for shit she didn't even do. And now these two parents now have lost a daughter. And it's supposed to be seen as an emotionally good ending. Because the rest of the movie, it ends with the one remaining daughter left, and her dad, they get to return to their lives, and he visits his dead wife's grave, and it's surprising to bring the fucking scarf, and probably put the scarf on the damn tombstone. But this other couple, one with the other possessed girl, they get to mourn their dead daughter for the rest of their lives. So apparently this is supposed to be a happy ending. We're supposed to see this. This is a great ending, everybody. There you go. You got a great ending. One girl's alive. One other girl's fucking dead. And Chris is now blinded for life. And is now going to have to spend the last years of her life blind. But at least the other daughter's saved. So you guys still get a happy ending regardless. No. This is not a happy ending. Like, don't these two think that maybe this demon will be back for the other girl someday in the future? They ever think of that? Don't they think that maybe this other couple with the other possessed girl is going to blame these two for their daughter's death? And probably sue their asses in court? Or probably let them go to jail? Don't we think that maybe that now Chris is just going to spend her last years of her life before she kicks the bucket, going back to being a hermit in her house, studying more exorcisms, and writing more books while using her little X-Men Cyclops Magneto powers? Ever think of these scenarios? No, they fucking don't. And this brings me to the last thing here. David Gordon Green, dude, you need to retire from horror. You need to stop bringing back horror franchises. Just go back to comedy. No more reviving franchises. No more reviving horror icons. Just fucking stop. Halloween Ends wasn't good, and neither was this, and it shows you learned nothing from Halloween Ends. I'd say this is worse than Halloween Ends, but it doesn't matter either way. They're both shitty movies, so it doesn't fucking matter. Now, another part of the ending, though. There was one thing I did like. Regan's cameo. The last shot with the blinded Charles, Professor Xavier, or Magneto Chris lying in the hospital. Then we do get a brief cameo of Linda Blair, and Regan reconciles with Chris in the hospital. So I did like that. I like that they did reconcile. I like that we did get to see like Regan for a brief little bit all grown up. And Linda Blair actually does look pretty fine with age. Actually look like she's aged pretty well. But that's not much saying else. Like, either way, in the end, I'm done going on and on and on about Exorcist Believer, Exorcist the Crapper, the fan service crapper. It's not scary, it's not well directed, it's not well written, it's not well acted, it's not a good sequel at all, and William Friedkin would be rolling his grave if he ever saw this. And besides, I think it's rumored they're going to cancel the other two sequels anyway, because this movie's not doing good at the box office or with viewers. Like, the thing is, like, Michael Myers, when you guys did Halloween, Michael Myers is a more celebrated franchise. Exorcist is not. Hell, Saw X was a better damn movie than Exorcist Believer. Like, Tobin Bell's character from the Saw movies was better respected in that movie than Ellen Burstyn's character was in this. And it was more entertaining. Saw X or Saw 10 was more fun to watch, and it was more entertaining and actually a better good sequel compared to Exorcist Believer. I would rather watch Saw 10 over this any fucking day. And I didn't even expect Saw X to be that good. And it definitely wasn't the best one that people were calling it, but it was fun and entertaining, and I actually enjoyed Saw X decently. Would rather watch that over this boring ass shit ever again. In the end, just continue to avoid this movie and stick with 1 and 3. Sorry this rant came too damn late, but I was busy getting Halloween Horror 4 made, and I was on a bit of a deadline for it, so I needed to stick with it. So sorry guys that this is on November 1st, and it's a shitty way to begin November. But the first week of November, I'm going to be reviewing the movies I never got the time to review, because I was busy with Halloween horror movie reviews. Even when they moved up the date, it still bombed hard, regardless, so it didn't matter. It would have bombed regardless if there was no competition. Anyways, that's it for my spoiler rant, epic rant on Exorcist Believer. And if you're wondering how you're ranking Exorcist Believer, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you have never liked the Exorcist sequels and hate Gordon Green after Halloween ends, there's no redemption for either of those here, and it's just going to be the same shit pulled off all over again, fan service and nothing great. So avoid it even when it's on streaming now, which it already is, and if you're wondering how to rank Exorcist the crapper, I'm going to give Exorcist the fan service crapper a 3 out of 10. There we go. That wraps up my epic rants on Exorcist, the fan service crapper. And so, since I saw Five Nights at Freddy's last night, that's going to be the next review. So now you'll get to see me review Five Nights at Freddy's. But I technically saw this around October 11th. Just didn't have the time to review it. I wanted to focus on getting Halloween Horror 4 done. But now we can go back to our original deadline now. Original stuff now that Halloween is over. Until then, guys, that'll be it for this epic rant. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this, want to see more, and don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.